Okay, we're going to take it up a notch and start adding some visual interest to our app. We're going to add some icons. And I've already added a folder in the Explorer called Icon Graphics that's full of nice little icon graphics that I got from an open source project called Health Icons. I also added a file called icons.imba, and this is a big object that has keys that map to other objects, which include a title, which is the title of the icon, and then an SVG property, which includes this import statement for the various icons, the SVG icons. So when we actually use this object, the SVG property will have the SVG code on this property. So let's take a closer look at that. Let's go to Habit Adder. Let's import that big icons object. So we can say import icons from /icons. That's the icons.imba file. And then I'm just going to come down here somewhere in the Habit Adder and let's put a div. And I'm going to say icons. And I want to put one of the keys from that icons object here. So let me go into icons.imba and I'll just pick this first one, objects cleaning. I'm going to copy that, go back to Habit Adder, paste it in here, and I'll say .title. Okay, so we see the title of that one printed out here. Let's try, instead of printing out the title, let's print out the whole thing, but it's an object. We need to turn it into a string, and we can do that using json.stringify, which is built into JavaScript. And let's see what we get. So we can see the whole object now. We see title, cleaning, and then SVG, and it's all this SVG code. So we want to see the actual icon, right? So let's try this. We'll use an SVG tag. Now Imba has a really cool feature where there's a non-standard source attribute that you can add on an SVG. So we all know about image source. In Imba, you can do SVG source. And you could put the path to an SVG here, and that would work. But in our case, we have references to the actual SVG code, and that works too. So we can say icons objects cleaning .svg. And so .svg is the actual SVG code. Let's see if it works. Delete all of this. And there we go. We've got a little broom. Okay, a quick little challenge for you. Try changing this object's cleaning to a different icon. You can find a different key from the icons.imba file and paste it in here. Okay, so let me try that. I'm going to go into icons.imba and let's see, emotions confused. I'm going to try that one. I'll go back to Habit Adder, paste it in there, and we've got a different icon. Okay, so we're just exploring how this works, but ultimately what we're going to want to do is list out all the icons in the Habit Adder, and we'll remove the functionality for typing in a name, and we'll have people just choose by clicking on one of the icons. But we're also going to want those icons to show up here as the actual habits instead of text labels. So let's go into Habit Item and play around with it there. I'm going to copy this import because we're going to need that. I'll go into Habit Item, paste that in, and let's try this. Down here where we have the name, let's try doing SVG source equals icons name.svg. Now if the name is one of the keys of this icons object, we'll see the corresponding icon. But clean up is not one of those keys. So we're actually probably going to get an error. Yeah, we get an error because this icon's name is icons clean up, which doesn't exist, and trying to access the SVG property of something that doesn't exist gives us an error. We can put two dots here, which is Imba's syntax for optional chaining, which means if this is defined, give us the SVG property, otherwise give us back undefined, and it will avoid the error. Okay, so we're printing out the name, and then we're printing out the SVG if it exists, which it doesn't. So let's add a new habit with a name that we know matches one of the keys of the icons. So we'll go into icons.imba. This time I'm going to choose a different one. I'll paste it in here as the name, click add, and cool, now we see the actual icon show up in our habit, along with the name being people_agriculture. So ultimately, we're not going to want to show the name, and we'll have something like this. So now that we have some basic familiarity of how this icons file that I've provided you with a list of all the icons works, and how SVGs can be used in Imba, we're ready to move on to the next lesson where we'll start to build out the actual UI to allow you to pick icons and have the habits be icons instead of text. It's going to make this app a lot more fun.